2 minutes after 1 here. So I think we will get started. Victoria, are you ready to rock and roll?
I am ready.
Okay, awesome. So thank you everybody for joining us. It's Victoria and I are out of Michigan. It's sunny here, but pretty cold. I hope all of you are having a great Wednesday. It's hump day, and hopefully this will make it an even better one for you. So with that, let's get started. This is, Ask Us Anything webinar. It's part 2 of our series. So we're talking strictly paid here for about 45 minutes. The next one coming up will be community management. So I hope you guys could join all 3, but if not, we're super happy and grateful to have you here to talk paid media. A little bit about who you have on the call right now. Myself, Missy McClelland. Hi, everybody. I'm the Senior VP here at one of them, that is at Ignite Social Media. I have been in the paid world for almost, paid media world for about 25 years. So a quarter of a century, and that really seems like a long time, but it's gone by pretty fast. So I oversee 4 of the resource teams here at Ignite, including paid. So Victoria, a little bit about yourself.
Yes, thank you, Missy. So my name is Victoria Rogers. I'm a senior media buyer here at Ignite, and I've been working alongside Missy in the media department since 2013. So it's been quite a while. It's been a great adventure with you, Missy.
Thank you. That tingles my heart.
Oh, good.
So lucky to have you, B. Okay, so your questions. We got some that were pre-submitted, so we're going to get to those first. I think there's about 8 or 9 of those. And so we'll take turn answering them. And then if you have questions, and hopefully you do, during the presentation, that Q&A button you see, you can submit your questions there as well. So we'll get to as many of those as we can. This is going to be recorded and sent to you, so don't worry about feverishly taking notes, but if you want to, of course you can. If you feel like writing things down, if you like highlighters or just like digital notes, that's just how you like to do things, and that's cool too. But there will be a recording unless anything really embarrassing happens. There might be an angry tween that enters the doors behind me at any moment now. I just can't predict that. So I do apologize if that happens. Remote learning is fun. Okay. So a little bit of interactive fun before we begin, if you guys don't mind, and then we're just going to go through a few slides, basically the progress as in the industry right now. So what is the biggest obstacle with paid social media? Is it showing that attribution, like this money is doing something? What's the bottom line? Is it how to use and keep up with all these tools? They're changing every day. There's a few of them. They're all different. Getting that budget for paid social, everybody, jockeying for those dollars. Is it hard to get it? And then creative, is it difficult to get creative specific for social media, paid social? We know that resource teams are sometimes just strapped, and can you get the creative you need to be in the paid space? So we will see what we're getting. Victoria, what does it look like?
Yeah, so it looks like our winner here is A, showing paid social media attribution.
Right.
Followed by, C, securing a sufficient budget for paid social media, and then lastly, D, getting creative specific for paid social media. So C and D were even, and then the top winner here was A.
Which is what we hear and what we see, and it's a tough one. It's getting better, showing that return on ad spend, but it's definitely a point in where people struggle with that last touch attribution, or versus first touch, versus what role does social really play. So, but it's getting better, I think, every year. Okay, so thank you for entertaining us with that poll, everybody. With that, I am going to turn it over to Victoria. We're just going to do a couple slides on state of the paid media industry, and then we'll hop right into those Q&As.
Perfect. Thanks, Missy. So again, before we dive into Q&A, we wanted to share with you stats in the social ad space and also share with you tips on social buys as we head into the holiday season. So 2020 was a unique year for social as well as paid social with the Facebook boycott in July, the presidential election, and COVID-19. We saw that brands during this time were pausing ads. We haven't really seen this before, but either due, anticipated increased costs or not wanting to appear, next to political content or any closings. So it's definitely been an interesting year for social as well as paid social.
Yeah, and Victoria, remember those, we still have them, those early morning meetings, especially during April and May, where every day something changed and we had to decide, do we run paid? Do we run organic? Do we pause just paid? We have to change our messaging. That happened all the time too. So it's been just a crazy, crazy year. Again, a quarter of a century, not bragging. I've never seen anything.
We also did that with the election. So we had ads running. We wanted to make sure that we didn't see like a dramatic increase in costs. So we would meet frequently to look at the results. So definitely, paying attention to what's happening in the space, not only the content, but how that is impacting your paid social campaigns. So here we have a study conducted by IAB. This conducted last quarter, asking U.S. ad buyers how long they plan on pausing or canceling ads for in the social space. Now, 33% said pausing for more than 1 month, 30% through July, and then 60% canceling through the end of the year. So it's interesting to see just the varied approach when it comes to, things happening throughout the world and how that would impact paid social. Now, despite that, we are seeing an increase in spending in the space. So eMarketer anticipates $50 billion in 2021. So that's a 21% increase from this year.
Wow. Still going up.
Still going up. Now, the ad networks and the social networks, Facebook and Instagram, continue to account for 80+%. It's obvious they have great, targeting capabilities or advertising. They're, the ad formats are great. So it's no surprise there. But LinkedIn, Pinterest, Snapchat, consistent year over year, 2 to 4% of the ad revenue.
Yeah, Victoria, so this just really resonates with what we see, which is Twitter.
Yeah.
Together advertising. So it'd be great to have another strong competitor in this space. Yes. I feel like Pinterest is just it's getting there. It's a tortoise in the hare. Like it's slowly getting there. And then LinkedIn is kind of stable, but I feel like they've just made huge strides.
Definitely. Yeah. I agree. And then we're also seeing an increase in ad spending on video content as brands are continuing to find value in that. So eMarketer anticipates a 22% increase in 2021 to 2020. So video content, definitely a nice trend to use in the future since it's very engaging, it's attention grabbing. So I use that. So as ad dollars are being spent in the space, it's really important for your brand to have a strong paid social campaign, especially in Q4. So here we've outlined a few of those tips to create a cost-efficient campaign during this quarter. So as you know, Q4, high costs. So if you're not running any holiday promotions or your content is holiday related, consider moving your ads to say Q5. So after December 25th, beginning of January. That's where we see the lowest competition and the lowest costs as brands typically have already spent their budget or just start restarting their paid budget for the year.
Yeah, and those costs really nosedive. After especially Christmas, like that Q5 as they call it, is if you can even add dollars to extend this, like that's a good time to be out there.
Yeah, and if you have a limited budget, you'll consider doing that to really get the biggest bang for your buck there. And then if you are running ads, continue to monitor them pretty regularly, but avoid making any changes to the campaign, especially during the learning phase. And this is specific to Facebook, Instagram. It's where the platform is learning the best people to target, times of day to show your ads, and the placements and creatives to use. So during this time, costs are pretty high. So your goal here is really wanting to exit that learning phase as soon as you can. And when you make a change, such as adding content or adjusting the placements or adding funds, that disrupts learning phase, and you really just start from square one in terms of cost efficiency. So your goal here is to really let your ads run, exit the learning phase as soon as possible.
So how can you tell if you're in, and this is just Facebook and Instagram, right? Business
Yes.
Manager. And how can you tell you're in the learning phase?
Yeah, so so there's a delivery column in the tool that shows you it's learning or active. So once it's out of the learning phase, it turns into active.
Cool.
Great question. Then also testing out different ad units and also messaging. So using engaging content like video, gaining popularity there, or Canvas Instant Experience carousel ads, or also Instagram stories are great to use as well, Facebook stories. In terms of ad copy, testing out different variations of a message. So for example, testing out percentage off of a or a dollar amount off, and using the tools that Facebook or a platform has to offer, such as A/B testing. So you'll be able to run a test to test these different variables to see what your winner is.
Yeah, and offers. Don't forget offers, which goes unnoticed on Facebook. That toggle just to redeem an offer. You can have it be online, offline, both. And we've seen this year when we've tested it, they work pretty well. And think about digital usage and think about the holidays. I don't think they talk about that one too much. They launched it and it kind of went away. It works.
And also for targeting, using what's worked well in the past. So we found custom and lookalike audiences based on customer lists you upload to the platform, website retargeting, or users who engage with your brand on Facebook. These work really well for social campaigns. Custom, especially for any lower funnel campaigns. Lookalike is great for any upper funnel, say, reach campaigns. And then lastly, creating a positive user experience, not only at the ad level, so directing users to relevant pages from your ad, but also creating a seamless user experience on your site, eliminating any roadblocks, making sure links work, offering a guest checkout option. Some people don't want to create an account, to make that one-time purchase. So just being able, to make sure that your website is working flawlessly.
Yeah, and how do you check that, Victoria? Is that something you can see like in Ads Manager in particular, or in tools to like just see the drop off from ads to carts to purchase?
Yes. So if you do have the pixel implemented, there's analytics that shows you, where a user is in basically when the events fire. So I can see when a user lands on a page, they've added to cart, and then see that drop off between add to cart, initiate checkout. So when you add that pixel, you have some more information when it comes to what's happening in that customer journey.
Okay, very cool. I think there's some fancy technology out there too, outside of Facebook and Pinterest and so forth, that lets you track kind of user activity and not to be breaking any privacy rules or anything like that, but that might be helpful too. So.
Definitely. Great, so now let's dive into the questions. So first we'll focus on the ones that were submitted with registration, and then we'll move on to the ones that you may have that you've been added to this Q&A portion here. So feel free while we're answering questions to add any additional questions that you have during this time. So Missy, I'll kick you off with the first question we have here. So how do paid and organic content complement each other?
Okay, so we had this question asked a few different ways ahead of time. So we'll try to cover all of those questions in this response. So so we have to go back about 10 to 12 years and do a little bit of context history lesson here. The social becomes a big thing, 2008, 2009, And Facebook is, they're all about getting connections, right? So get fans, followers, whatever word they use. And then you could buy them because they had to make money. So that's how they made money. But then we see, especially 2011 through 2014, that when you post something, your fans and followers, your connections, and I'm speaking about Facebook, Instagram, you could reach your fans organically and get about what, 14 to 28% reach. So a pretty good number of your connections with an organic post. And then that just eroded. And eroded is the best word to use. And now it's under 1%. So when you post something organically, assuming your connections will see that, is just something that won't happen. It is usually less than 1%. So it became, you got to pay to play. And you saw the numbers, the billions of dollars that are made in pay to play. So that's the story there with respect to history. So organic in particular is important because it does showcase the brand. It showcases a voice. It hits key story arcs that you want to talk about with respect to your brand. And of course, there's the engagement opportunities you have when you do publish that content. So that interaction with you and users, you can't get that in other digital spaces usually. So organic is still important. And when you post organically, it is not going to ruin any of your organic results. It should actually be a situation where it capitalizes paid on your organic. So no worries there. It's also really expensive to produce all this organic content. So you don't want it to go to waste. So if you post it organically and you get less than 1%, and then you pay to reach these fans, so you're paying twice. So with the content you do post organically, thinking about how to best use it and to have paid behind it is really important. So you can look at paid being an assist. It's my only sports analogy. It's a sports thing, assisting. It's also like an attribution thing. It assists the organic, so that's important. But paid also, sometimes organic isn't going to do everything. So then paid comes in to do what we call dark content. So content that isn't published. It can serve a particular purpose, like driving a target through the funnel with upper funnel versus mid, and then retargeting to push them completely through and get them to convert. Or if you want to target like a very specific audience, maybe it's a country, maybe it's an age group, etc. And then just overall building awareness, like a certain objective as well with respect to paid. So that is really what we need to think about when we think of organic versus paid. We need both. But for those reasons, it's why we need both. It is pay to play, but organic alone still is pretty important. So, all right, enough about that. Unless people have more questions, feel free to submit any that you have that come to mind, but hopefully we covered that. Let us know if we didn't. Victoria, how do you determine a healthy social paid budget?
So yeah, that really depends on a variety of things. So your campaign goal, your timing, how long you're running your ads for, and your audience. So you're looking to reach a small audience size, large audience. So generally lower funnel campaigns require less funds than like say an upper funnel. So for example, if you're running a website conversion campaign, and you want people to purchase your product, that might need less funds than say a reach campaign where you're trying to reach millions of users. I also recommend looking at your campaign goals. So if you have specific goals, create, look at estimated rates and see how that really looks against your goals. So you can use planning rates to develop estimated results. And that's a good indicator. Hey, I might need to increase my budget. If I increase my budget here, I'm able to reach my goal. And also,
is there like any number that for like let's say monthly budget that just isn't a lot? Like what's a good rule of thumb there with respect to social budgets? Is it a certain amount per month, or what do you think?
If I were to provide you a certain amount, I would say $10,000 media out of pocket.
Okay, to do something meaningful.
Yes.
Yeah, for most
Yep.
people. Okay.
Yeah, definitely. Good question. And then in terms of timing, so if your promotion is a few days long, a few weeks, smaller budget than say if it's longer, months long. So one thing you could do is if you're using a daily cap, looking to see if you're exceeding that daily cap in the morning, exhausting it, that is a good indicator that you might need to add more budget to your campaign. And then lastly, audience size. So if you have a small audience size, say a customer list of 1,000 people, you don't need as much budget as say, if you're using interest or lookalike targeting, which could include that millions of people. So it really depends on your audience size there. Okay, so a question for you, Missy.
Okay.
Is paid social media worthwhile for a small business selling to only a specific audience? For example, energy industry, oil and gas.
Yes, now it is. I don't think that always used to be the case. It's made strides. So with this, if you want to hit decision makers or people who influence decisions, yes, you can definitely use social. The key is really testing and learning. There's no secret sauce with respect to that like businesses all up B2B. So we found it took a while for us to get a recipe for LinkedIn, in particular, because there's so many different audience options and they're all really good for B2B. But the ones that you thought, oh my gosh, this is going to work, it's job titles, sometimes didn't. And then sometimes retargeting did work and sometimes it didn't. So it's really takes a lot of testing and learning. And LinkedIn in particular, it's hard because they're expensive. They have better quality with respect to B2B and the results we've seen, especially with lead gen. But you do have to test and learn and not give up too easily in these platforms. And then that goes back to, do you have the budget to do that? But with all that said, being really clear on expectations for B2B. So it's not going to be the silver bullet that increases sales by 100% year over year. That's not going to happen. It may, but probably not. It can increase awareness. It can get you leads that you can nurture. So being really clear about what you want to do with respect to B2B in your industry, and then laying out that plan and that testing and learning is really, really critical. And LinkedIn always is having, especially, I bring this up because they have the best B2B targeting. Facebook used to, where they had job titles. And then those
They removed them.
like in 1 month, a couple years ago, they were all gone. And then they slowly started adding them back. And that's because people abuse the system with really weird job titles. That's what happened there, that weren't nice. So we understand why they did that. They just had really not nice job titles that they gave themselves. So slowly it's come back, but it's just, I don't think people update their job titles that much. And then if you try to do a match, it's hard to get your business email to match with a Facebook login. So it's hard to do a match. You can do retargeting on that, but that's a tough one. That one, over the years, it's been a little more difficult to use Facebook for that. So Twitter was good, and then they got rid of their third-party targeting, which is really awesome. So that kind of stinks. But Victoria, we talked about Reddit too, right? And so this is oil and gas. The question was specifically for, but there's also technology is typically a big player in B2B, especially now. We've used Reddit, and what do you think about Reddit?
Yeah, it's a great platform. Their subreddits or communities are great to use to target, those very small, niche communities that are focused on a specific topic, something that, say LinkedIn or Facebook doesn't have. I think is a huge benefit to Reddit. And it's a super easy self-serve platform to use. I have no troubleshooting issues. It's very straightforward and easy. Support is great. So I definitely recommend, testing out Reddit if you can.
Yeah, and I think the fear was with Reddit originally was this space, the users were too candid, and how a
Mm,
brand going into Reddit is like, why would you put yourself in that situation? But we found that that's really hasn't been too big of a concern or a reason not to use it. And you
yeah.
can turn comments off, right, when you
Yep.
are on Reddit.
That
Okay.
is true. And it's interesting to note that 95% of brands that use Reddit use paid. So it's a heavy paid channel, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So, yeah. But there
Yep.
is the organic aspect as well, but mostly, you know, brands use it for paid.
Yep. And those numbers usage wise, we just looked at them this morning. We compared Q3 2019 to Q3 2020, and the Reddit numbers are pretty solid. So it's,
Mhm.
you know, they don't get enough play, do they?
Right?
Yeah.
They don't. Mm.
Okay. Victoria. This is a hard one. So that's why you're getting it. We've been back and forth with this. Best practices for running ads for different store locations across a region.
So there are a couple of options here. So on Facebook, you can set up a store's page structure where you have your main Facebook page, and then you have individual pages for each of your locations. It's essentially like a trickle down effect. So if you have content on your main page, it trickles down to the location pages. The location pages can also have, you know, store details that are specific to that location. And you can also create content specific for that location. But if you have that set up, you're able to use the store traffic ad objective, which essentially tells Facebook, hey, I want foot traffic to my store, and I want to boost as many of my sales at the physical location. So if you use this, you have a whole variety of benefits that come along with it. Your ads can be dynamic, so it can pull information from each store to create like a nice custom feel for your ad. There's that location card, so it shows the user where the nearest location is to their proximity. There's also a get directions call to action button. And also you can optimize towards users who are in a certain radius of your location. But if you don't want to go through that effort of setting all of that up, it's quite easy, but it does take some management, especially if you have like hundreds of stores,
Yeah.
that could be a lot of work up front. But you could take a more like a location focused approach and use a reach ad objective to get people to just one specific store. You can use geo-targeting.
Like without doing the location pages, so
Yes.
you don't do the location pages, which comes with a whole host of things that you have to maintain. So just okay, gotcha.
Yeah, so the ad would come from the main Facebook page, but you would use geo-targeting to target users in the radius of that location.
Okay. What about, so click to call ads are back. They were on, off, then it was a weird workaround, but click to call. Yeah. They're back, right?
They're back. Yeah, they rolled out to the ad accounts. So that is another option you can do. So instead of like say get directions, you can call the direct, location or use a specific call number. Yep. So.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah. So what is the best way to break through the clutter on social media this holiday season when everyone will be advertising on social and digital?
They will be. And isn't it crazy that there is Black Friday, but it's been all of November. Like everything, the magazines, the direct mail, everything is just deals are now. So it's happening. Some things that come to mind breaking through the clutter. That mobile first video, Victoria, you talked about this. Mobile first video. Short, less than 15 seconds. I think what a lot of people miss is you get to the point fast. So don't get to the end of the message and be like 20% off. Like you really people don't have a lot of time. So you want to get it to be short, but you get to the key point fast, which is kind of not what we're used to. Those two things, plus it's made for sound off. Assume the sound isn't playing. So if you have an important message and it's in the audio, likely it's going to get masked. So you have to make sure you're assuming the sound is turned off. But music is kind of fun if it is turned on as an option. We see that with TikTok, Victoria, you have to have music.
Yes, that's correct. So you can use either, music that's associated with your video, or you can also use the music they have available on the platform that's free. for advertisers.
They give
They
you.
have a variety of different styles, different genres of music that you can use. So it's quite cool.
Okay. Any favorites?
Um, I lately been listening to classical, so I mean, classical is nice and respectful. So yeah.
Okay. All right. Classical on TikTok, which is kind of interesting for the platform.
Uh,
I dig that for sure. Formats that come to mind, story ads. We see with the placements, not a lot get put in stories. Those costs are tend to be more fit. I like the canvas you have for a story ad too. Just more room, and I feel like they break through better.
they do, yeah. And also, Facebook has a template tool. So if, say, you have a static one-to-one image, you can turn that into a vertical video.
Mm.
So, I mean, if you don't have video, you don't have the resources to create a vertical asset ratio video, using that, the templates are quite cool. You can have text overlay and different visuals and colors and call to action buttons. So you have a lot of options when it comes to creating content.
So template sounds like a bad word usually. What do you think about these templates that you can use for stories?
I think they're nice. I mean, I mean, obviously they don't have all the capabilities that you can think of, but they really make your content, your ads look really nice. I mean, they have just a few options, but I think that, if you have something that's a one-to-one aspect ratio, it doesn't look so nice on a vertical display, and it makes it look really nice.
Okay, so use the templates. Don't be afraid of that word. I think we need to
Yes.
reframe our thinking around the word template for this. The other thing that comes to mind is to break through the clutter creatively is to use that carousel format. So either to have different messages. I know there's overlays you can put on dynamic product catalog ads too with the carousel format, and then also just using that space differently. We see like extended pictures over the different carousel cards and things like that. So that's an interesting way to also break through.
You can be quite creative with that. Like you said, taking an image and kind of cutting it to different carousel cards, being quite creative.
So with that too, speaking of the holidays, having those multiple placements, 4+ is the best practice. We do see there's a couple of things we don't agree with Facebook on, but we do agree that when you have those 4+ placements, that you do see cost efficiencies built in. And so you can pick those 4 placements and then customize your creative accordingly. And that's gotten better over the last year and a half. It was really, really bad at the beginning. It just, nothing looked right when you tried to, you could only customize assets like the video.
Yes.
And now it's changed. So if you tried that before and you're like, this stinks, it's changed and it's a lot better now.
Yeah, with the asset customization, as you're referring to, yeah, you can, use a vertical video for stories, or horizontal for the audience network, but you're also able to adjust like the copy and the headline. So if you want to add like a little bit of, a copy that's specific to, say, the Instagram placement, you're able to do that. So you have some flexibility on how your ads can look in these different placements.
Cool. Okay, Victoria. How do you decide how many posts should be boosted or promoted per month, per year?
Oh, yeah, so it depends on your budget. So we know that it's a lot of effort to create content, create good content for social. So we want the content to have the opportunity to be seen by your audience. So what happens if you have a small budget and you have a lot of ads? Not all the ads will be shown. So that's, could be wasted content, right? So if you do have a small budget, focus on a few ads, a few nice engaging ads that you can run. And if you have a larger budget, you can add in more content there. But again, it's important to give your content the opportunity to be shown among your audience.
Yeah, getting back to that and that creative piece and number of pieces of content, we get asked like, what should be the cadence? How much should you post each day? And we see brands posting 4 to 6 times a day. So that's a lot of money to put behind your post. So usually I think less is more. In most cases, it depends on things like your level of competition and the seasonality and things like that, of course. But I think posting frequently, thinking that people are going to see it, is just no longer no longer the case, unfortunately.
So how did the media team, the organic social team interface in your organization?
So the answer here is it's very collaborative. So since the organic content more often than not has paid behind it, as you've learned, the organic piece of content has to fit the objective of what we're doing for paid. So they work hand in hand. So not only just so if you're doing a campaign and for instance it's reach and we see the messaging is very mid to lower funnel, we'll call that out. The content producer may not know that because they don't understand all the settings in Business Manager and how the tools function. Or the call to action, like if we're sending to a general page, because it's digital, you're sending people somewhere, though there is like brand awareness and other factors. It is a digital space, so expect to send people to a place. And when you do, that's really important. So we want to make sure that the content is going to the right activity to get the best type of conversion or whatever the KPI might be. So that's really critical, is having those. And it's been over the years, I have to say, again, not bragging, lots of years in the space, there's always this question of unbundling and bundling services, in paid media agencies only, creative shops only. And time again, and this goes back to when there wasn't social, when you lose that collaboration between the content that's being produced and that paid piece, you lose too much. So though each situation has its pros and its cons, I've seen time and time again, it always comes back to we have to work together. And when you're siloed like that, we just see too many inefficiencies.
From my personal experience, I communicate with the community management content team on a daily basis. It's nice to have that open communication between the teams to really, share information among the teams, show what, tell each other what we're learning in the space. So definitely beneficial.
Okay, so hopefully that answered that question. It's a pretty big question. We get that a lot. And I don't see any more questions coming in, which I don't know if that's good. I don't know if that means we're doing like a really great job, Victoria, and like we're just answering everything, or if is anybody there, Victoria? Do we still have participants? Did we lose everybody? No, we still have a couple. No, we have a good group. We have a good group. I think we have a pretty good retention rate, if I don't say so myself. And we do have a couple more questions that were asked ahead of time that we're going to get to. We have 5 minutes left. So if we can get through these, we can answer any other questions you may have coming in. But I don't see any. That makes me kind of sad. Maybe just ask one to make us happy. It's Wednesday. We'll see, Victoria, what happens.
We'll see. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So this question actually isn't in the last one. This is you, right? Pay per click versus pay per view. What's the best practice?
Yeah, so if your goal is to generate views on your content video views campaign objective, right? But if you want to drive users to your website, I would say instead of using a traffic ad objective, conversion ad objective. So this is where you're buying for users likely to perform a specific action on your site, whether it be a page view, add to cart, initiate checkout. So you're reaching a more qualified audience. So unfortunately with traffic objectives, you're reaching those clicky users. So they may not be qualified and they could be expensive, and you're really limiting your reach to those who are just likely to click. So I recommend using website conversion, and to use that, you need to implement a cookie-based pixel on your site. So Facebook pixel is very easy to implement at the moment. So you have that on your site. You can use this ad objective. You can also create custom and lookalike audiences that we mentioned, as well as see some more information on your attribution of your buy. You have the ability to look into the attribution of your social campaign.
Okay, so the answer there is it really depends on your objective. And get that pixel set up, but know that there's that browser change is coming.
Yep.
We're getting rid of cookies. So if you have a pixel, I say pixel, I mean any kind of really insight tag, LinkedIn, Pinterest tag, whatever the case might be, server side is what we're hearing is now the best practice. So making that migrating from browser to server is going to happen in 2021.
That's not as easy to implement as the pixel we just mentioned, you need some experience on the API side, but definitely something to consider as that technology is being stripped away. It offers lots of benefits. The Pixel does. So.
Yeah. Again, so cookies going away, as far as we can tell. Google's stripping them, biggest, browser out there. So your tracking is going to have to be done differently, and the recommendation is going server side, which is a little tougher technology ask, but the data is supposed to be more reliable.
Yep.
And so far, from what we heard from Facebook, it's looking, people are happy, and they're seeing more going back to that attribution question.
Yeah.
It could be a little more work up front, but it's supposed to really help prove the value of social.
And then one question for you, Missy, our last question here. So what are the best scheduling softwares and image creation softwares?
Okay, so we had to reach out to ask this one. This is the one, because it's not in our wheelhouse. This is the CM team, Community Management, which is doing the next webinar in 2 weeks. So be there. Smart group of cookies there. No pun totally intended. So they say scheduling, Sprinklr, HeyOrca, and Hootsuite. And then if you're not doing it natively, and then Canva for non-professional designers for design. So if you're professional, probably the Adobe Suite, which is what we use, but not Canva is a nice option. So hopefully that answered that question there. And I'm sad I don't see any more questions coming in, Victoria. Do you?
Let's see. I don't.
Well, we must have done an excellent job answering them. That's what I'm going to go with. I don't know for sure. All right. So with that, I think we just have again, this is recorded. Nothing crazy, I think, has happened yet. So you'll get a copy of this presentation. And don't miss the final event. If you enjoyed this one, you'll love our CM team, who's doing their webinar in 2 weeks. So after the holidays, hopefully everybody is planning to have an amazing break and some good time off, but join us for that next one. And I don't think I forgot anything.
Nope.
Okay.
Get everything.
All right. Well, that's that. Thank you, everybody. Have an amazing holiday break. Stay well and see you soon.